Welcome back to the Reality Check, everyone. Today, we're diving into a mind that honestly feels more relevant now than ever before, Philip K. Dick. You know, for so long, he was kind of pigeonholed as this weird sci-fi guy, a pulp visionary. But sitting here today, looking at our world, his work feels less like fiction and more like, well, prophecy.
Absolutely, Jasmine. It's almost unsettling how accurately he mapped out the anxieties that are now just daily life for us. Deepfakes, algorithmic bubbles, the constant questioning of what's real and what's manipulated. It's like he wrote the blueprints for our digital dissolution decades ago. He was the paranoid saint of the plastic age, and we're living in his cracked mirror world.
Exactly. He wasn't just imagining other worlds, he was dissecting the very fabric of this one, using his own psychological instability as an ontological probe. And through his restless inquiry, I think, emerged these 5 essential truths, a framework almost for surviving what he called the apocalypse of the mind.
I love that apocalypse of the mind. It's not about zombies or giant robots, it's about the internal erosion of certainty. So, where do we start with these truths? Because I'm already feeling that familiar Dickian dread building.
Let's start where Dick's own fractured reality began, with the ghost in the machine, the truth of the incomplete self. His twin sister, Jane, died mere weeks after their birth. This wasn't just a sad event. It was a foundational trauma that birthed a lifelong survivor guilt. He felt like half a person, forever searching for a missing piece.
Wow, I knew about his complex life, but that's a profoundly personal origin story. So he wasn't just writing about identity crises, he was living one. And that twinning motif, characters feeling incomplete, searching for a phantom part of themselves, that shows up everywhere in his books.
It does. Think of the dark-haired girl, this spectral, ambiguous female figure who haunts so many of his narratives. She's a savior, a harbinger of doom, but ultimately, she's a manifestation of the sister he never knew. He famously said, "I have not done anything but talk to my dead half for my whole life. It was never clear which of the two was the puppet, and who was the ventriloquist, who was alive and who was dead."
That's haunting, and honestly, relatable. Maybe not a literal twin, but that feeling of something missing, a sense of incompleteness, a longing for something just out of reach. I think we all carry some version of that primordial loss. We're all searching for our phantom twin, whether we realize it or not.
Absolutely. It sets the stage for his next big inquiry, the empathy test, the truth of the authentic human. If we're all a bit broken, how do we distinguish between what's truly human and what's, well, android? He wasn't just talking about robots with shiny skin. He was talking about humans who behaved like machines.
Ah, the death of affect. This one really hits home in our hyper-connected, yet strangely disconnected world. We see it everywhere, don't we? The bureaucratic coldness, the way people treat each other online. It's like a spiritual failure, a numbing of emotion. Dick saw it as humans behaving like machines, long before AI was commonplace.
Precisely. He feared this schizoid lack of emotion wasn't just a diagnosis, but an atomistic requirement of capitalistic systems, a system that rewards indifference. His antidote? Cultivating charitas, agape, and empathos, suffering with another, really feeling their pain. It's that visceral, involuntary participation in the pain of the other that makes us human.
So it's not just about not being a robot. It's about actively resisting that mechanical affect, not following rigid logic, but having spontaneous, irrational solidarity. That's a powerful idea. In a world that often rewards cold rationality, Dick is saying our messy emotional side is our saving grace.
Exactly. And the human pursues koinos kosmos, a shared world. The android-like personality, conversely, remains trapped in the cold, functional isolation of a private reality. It's a very pointed critique of individualism taken to an extreme.
Which brings us, I guess, to the next truth. Reality is a controlled hallucination, the truth of the metalibro. This is where his paranoia really shines, right?
Oh, absolutely. He used his fear of schizophrenia as a hypothesis of reality. He distinguished between idios kosmos, your private subjective world, and koinos kosmos, the shared objective reality. And he warned that what we perceive as a shared world is often just a pseudo-reality projected by those in power to maintain control.
Okay, this is where it gets really chillingly accurate for today. Pseudo-reality projected by those in power? Hello, 24-hour news cycles, social media algorithms, political narratives that feel completely untethered from anything tangible. It's like we're living in a giant game of mirrors.
And he explored this masterfully in The Man in the High Castle. The characters in this Axis-occupied America are obsessed with a forbidden book, The Grasshopper Lies Heavy, which describes a reality where the Allies won. It's fiction to them, but real to us. And Dick, the genius that he was, used the I Ching to write the novel itself, allowing an ancient oracle to dictate the movements of his characters.
That's next-level meta. So he literally randomized his own reality, proving that it's not a fixed state but a fragile consensus, easily rewritten by the throw of yarrow stalks or, a particularly effective propaganda campaign online. It makes you wonder how many layers of pseudo-reality we're operating under every day.
It certainly does. And this leads us to the fourth truth, the heroics ragione, the truth of the sane outsider. If reality is a controlled hallucination, then who's going to see through it? For Dick, it was often the psychotic or the mad person.
The sane outsiders. I love that inversion. He was a huge critic of traditional psychiatry, wasn't he? He saw it as a tool of normalization, designed to crush any counter-movement of the deviant mind.
Precisely. For him, madness wasn't a flaw. It was an active form of resistance against a depressed and indifferent humanity. He believed the person labeled mad by the state was often the one closest to the truth, a visionary who simply refused to accept the aberrant normalcy of the prison world. This culminated in his own VALIS's experiences in '74, where he believed he perceived the true nature of the universe.
So, the ones who break free from the consensus reality, who see the veil of Maya lift, are often cast out or pathologized. It's a terrifying thought, that the very systems designed to help us might actually be stifling our ability to perceive truth. It reminds me of his quote, "We do not have the ideal world where everyone can do what is right without effort because they recognize the evidence. Because what if the evidence itself is a lie?"
Exactly. And that brings us to the final and perhaps deepest truth, the Gnostic struggle, the truth of the recovery of memory. In his final years, his work really shifted towards this profound Gnostic struggle, influenced by his relationship with Bishop James A. Pike.
Ah, the archons and the demiurge. This is where he gets really out there, but also, for some, incredibly resonant. This idea that our reality is the creation of a blind, ignorant God who maintains a fake, mechanical world.
Right. And he believed that catastrophe wasn't always bad. It could be a necessary grace, a force required to decompose this fake world and compel the human spirit to wake up. Liberation for Dick required anamnesis, the recovery of lost primordial memories that the Archon has forced us to forget. His writing, for him, was his own form of anamnesis, tearing through the technological and ideological shadows to remember a light that existed before the world went wrong.
So, it's not just about realizing reality is fake, it's about remembering what the real reality used to be, or what it should be. That's a huge shift from just being paranoid about what's real. It's about an active search for a lost truth, almost like a spiritual quest within oneself. It adds a layer of hope, I think, to the paranoia.
It does, actually. His final message wasn't one of despair, despite all the mind-bending and fracturing. It was an invitation to radical, courageous empathy. He believed the ultimate form of survival in a world of simulations was the simple, difficult act of taking care of the other. That's the syzygy, the courageous acceptance of our shared condition as survivors of a fractured reality.
The syzygy, I love that. After all the layers of unreality, the ultimate truth comes down to human connection and